Welcome back to Ford Nation. Folks, get ready for the rubber to hit the road. We got Ezra Levin.
You know, it's cool for politicians to do drugs. Justin Trudeau brags about it and says he wants to legalize pot. Andre Boisclair, the former leader of the Parti Québécois, favored cocaine. George Smitherman, Ontario's former Liberal health minister who later ran for the mayor of Toronto against Rob Ford and who won the endorsement of the Toronto Star and other left-wing media, said he preferred, quote, party drugs. It's not just drugs, of course. Teddy Kennedy had multiple addictions, booze, sex, drugs. He even killed a girl once when he drove drunk into the Chappaquiddick River with a woman, not his wife, coming home from a party. Mary Jo Kopechny was her name, but he was a Kennedy, so he was never charged. Speaking of drunks who kill, René Lévesque, the former separatist premier of Quebec, killed a guy one night, also with his car, also with a woman in his car, not his wife. Wasn't wearing his glasses either. Lévesque was charged, and the judge fined him $25 and encouraged him to continue his political campaign. $25. And of course, you don't have to go back that far. Take the hero of the left, Saint Jack Layton, the late leader of the NDP. Why, he was found stark naked in a downtown whorehouse during a police vice squad raid. No charges. Police didn't even mention it. I mean, it was his private life, and he was an important man, and it might embarrass people. Which brings us to the case of Rob Ford. He hasn't killed anyone like Kennedy or Lévesque. He hasn't been charged with anything at all. In fact, he's shown poor judgment. A lawmaker should not be a lawbreaker, and smoking crack cocaine is illegal. He was also seen in the company of criminals, or at least accused criminals. In fact, no charges have been laid against Ford at all, unlike, say, the current mayor of London, Ontario, Joe Fontana. Fontana's facing fraud charges, not for anything in his private life, but for allegedly using government money to pay for his kid's wedding. The Canada Revenue Agency has already decertified the charity Fontana chaired that paid him huge consulting fees. The auditors claim he violated the Income Tax Act, but Fontana continues to govern London with neither the media mania that has descended on Ford or the political threats by Kathleen Wynne, the Liberal Premier.
I understand that people are affected by what's happening at this moment, but I want the people of Toronto to know that we will not be defined by this, and we'll work together to ensure that the people's interests are served.
Yeah, see, Wynne herself is not elected yet, but she says she might just fire Toronto's mayor because, why exactly? Because Ford lied? Is that the criteria for removing politicians from office? If so, there wouldn't be one left. Because Ford has a substance abuse problem, perhaps? That would cull the political class pretty quickly if that was a disqualifier. And much of the media party, too. Because why? Because his friends have been implicated or even charged in crimes? Well, that would cover quite a few people, too, including Premier Wynne herself, seen here with Justin Trudeau, and that other guy, the former Deputy Minister of Education in Ontario, close colleagues with Wynne. Ben Levin is his name, who just happens to have been charged with child pornography, as in making and distributing images of child abuse. Well, then what is it? Well, it's obvious. It's Ford's politics. He's a conservative. He's a tax cutter, a spending cutter. He privatized Toronto's garbage service. He pushed back the nuttier bicycling anti-car ideas. He's running a huge surplus. He's marginalized what he calls the gravy train, all the lobbyists and consultants and lawyers who used to rule the roost off the back of taxpayers. But of course, Ford's worst sin of all is that he's just so low class, isn't he? He's fat. He lives in the suburbs, not a fancy downtown condo. He's an uncool businessman, not a hipster, not even a lawyer. Oh, did I mention he's fat? He drives a Cadillac, not a Prius. He doesn't particularly like going to gay pride parades. In other words, he's what the fancy people hate. He's NOKD, not our kind, dear. That's why left-wing lawyers Clayton Ruby and Brian Schiller sued him again and again in political nuisance suits, trying to kick him out of office on technicalities, trying to bog him down in lawsuits, including baseless defamation suits. They were trying to undo through the courts what they couldn't do in the election. When Ford cleaned the clock of their anointed candidate, liberal drug addict George Smitherman, they couldn't do it through the courts. So then the media party tried to hound him out of office, publicizing every flaw, real or imagined, like, I'm not making this up, grainy cell phone video of him going to a KFC for fried chicken. I mean, did I mention that Rob Ford is fat? The media attacks didn't work for some reason, so then the left-wing, politically correct police brass thought they'd help. Toronto's police chief decided one day to have a press conference and say that he had seen a video in which Ford had smoked what looked like a crack pipe, and all sorts of other surveillance of Ford, included by airplanes and other undercover agents. Oh, no charges against him. No, he wasn't even the official target of the investigation, but they released hundreds of pages of allegations and rumors against him, probably spent millions of bucks stalking him, even hired a plane. Oh, all in the public interest, of course. Well, that hasn't dislodged the mayor either. So then City Council, his rivals, his opponents, had a vote denouncing him, calling on him to step aside. Yeah, imagine that. Liberal legislators voting for a conservative legislator to step aside. Imagine if that's how democracy worked. Maybe Rob Ford should step aside. Maybe he should be banished from politics forever. Unlike the drug and sex and booze addicts at the left. Maybe he should be, but let that be done in the next election by voters. Not an unelected Liberal premier, not by radical left-wing activist lawyers, not by a politically meddling police chief, and not by baldly ambitious rivals on City Council, not by a vindictive, vengeful newspaper, the Toronto Star, that endorsed the drug addict George Smitherman and became an auxiliary of Smitherman's campaign team, that has sent reporters onto Ford's home, even at night, that has stalked his wife and family and friends. The Star isn't even a newspaper anymore, it's paparazzi. They're even paying cash to any member of the public who secretly tapes Ford saying something embarrassing, even private, even in a home. That's why I support Rob Ford. He's run the city well, despite his private life, and Rob Ford's enemies aren't just bullies. They're undemocratic bullies who act like they, and not the people of the city, own the mayor's office, and that they'll decide Ford's fate. No. Ford is a deeply flawed man, but I'd take him drunk over his left-wing predecessor sober. This is Canada. We let voters decide who holds office, not the editors of the Toronto Star or their stockerazzi. Mayor Ford, I got a question for you. It's so obvious. If you were a liberal, if you were a tax hiker, if you were part of the gravy train, would you be going through any of this right now?
I don't believe I would be. They say, you've got to work with the council. I've worked with the council. We built subways when they said that's impossible to do. We've made huge improvements down in the city. You want to make friends at City Hall, all you have to do is spend money and you'll have all the friends you want.
You've been doing this all show. You've been talking about substance. You've been talking about taxes and blah, blah, blah.
Absolutely.
They're not interested in that. The reason CNN and the BBC and all these folks are interested in you is because of your personal life. But I want to ask you, why you? I mean, unlike René Lévesque, you didn't kill anybody. Unlike Teddy Kennedy, you didn't kill anybody. Is there any liberal in this country who has gone through what you've gone through?
I think the biggest thing is I admitted I've done drugs. I've made mistakes, but I don't think that anyone else is any different. It's hypocrisy at its best, and I'm not proud of what I've done. It's very humiliating. But, being fiscally responsible down at City Hall, and let's call a spade here, the majority of councillors down there are left-wing tax and spend socialists. That's what they are. And there's a handful of us that are fiscally responsible. And if I was one of them, as you know, there's some councillors down there that have been criminally charged. Nothing wrong with that. I haven't been charged.
Well, there is something wrong with that. And frankly, there is something wrong with, you've admitted that you smoke crack cocaine. That is against the law. But what's the right approach for someone who's done the things you've done? I have never in my life seen a media pylon. They're obsessed at the Toronto Star. They send someone to your home at twilight to take pictures into your property. They're on your property. I've never seen anything like that.
The Toronto Star, my neighbor came and called me and said, there's somebody in your backyard over your fence taking pictures. So I ran all the way back. I live on a ravine lot. I ran all the way back. And guess who I caught taking pictures in the backyard? Daniel Dale from the Toronto Star.
You know what? It's so funny. I read the Star, I admit it. They talk about cyberbullying. They're against bullying. They're for civil liberties. They're for privacy. But the way they're hounding you, it reminds me of the paparazzi stalking Princess Diana. I don't think they're done with you. I don't think they're going to be done with you till you have a car accident in the tunnel, Princess Diana style.
Well, you know what? I've got a driver now, Jerry, and he's doing a great job. But you know what? This has gone way out of control.
Well, what about a bodyguard? The other day I saw some British reporter fly in, go to your door, ring your doorbell 5 times. How come people can get such access? I think that's part of the problem. You let anyone into your life. Anyone can phone you on your cell phone number. You publicize on the radio. You let anyone come on your property. So it's not just creeps who are in touch with you. It's creeps in the media. Are you too open and accessible to any hood on the street, including hoods from the Toronto Star?
Ezra, I'm open to anybody. People stop me all the time.
Is that a problem for the mayor of a large city to be open to anybody?
I don't think it is, because you know what? I don't think someone's going to come up to at my front door and shoot me for saving taxpayers' money.
Well,
I'm not. No, you know, I got a camera system at my house and all that, but I don't need a security guard for me.
You don't think you need a security guard?
Why?
Well, because they're on your property. You don't think it's going to come to blows one day?
You know what's frustrating is when my little son and daughter are crying their eyes out before they go to school, they're afraid to go outside
but
to
that's
school.
a different kind of cyberbullying. You see, that's okay when the Star does it to your kid.
No, everybody's out on the driveway and they're crying. They said, Daddy, I don't want to, Mommy, I don't want to go to school. I'm afraid to go outside. Who are these people? Like that is sickening when they come right to your front door and they don't move. And I tell them to get off the driveway and they don't get off the driveway. Guys, like at least catch me at City Hall or something, but don't come to my front door.
This is the weird thing. I mean, people love to hate politicians. It's sort of a national hobby in a democracy. But I think we hate politicians when they're bullies. It's very rare that a powerful man, the mayor of a city, is bullied. I think that's what's going on. I think that's the source of sympathy for you, is that you haven't stolen from anyone. You haven't bullied the little guy. But all these media powers have bullied you. I think they've managed to make you come across as the David in this David Goliath story.
I stick up for the little guy. I coached football for 22 years at Don Bosco and I got fired because of political reasons. I take
They hated the fact that you volunteer on a football club. They would never do anything volunteer for the community if it wasn't a press conference.
Well, these kids now, you know, some of them kids, it comes from a tough neighborhood. There's no secret Don Bosco is a really tough school. And, you know, these kids get in trouble. I'm the first one at 1, 2, 3 in the morning. These kids call me. They got my number, say, Coach, I screwed up. I pick them up. I drive. I say, sleep on my couch. We'll talk about it in the morning. I help these kids out. I don't want to see them rotting in jail selling stuff like that. These kids need attention. Sometimes they don't have the guidance. I'm very fortunate to have that guidance in growing up. And Doug can explain some other things maybe.
You keep fighting those bastards.
I will, Ezra. Don't worry.
Anyways, folks, you're listening to Ford Nation. We'll be back.